From the studios of KENW on the campus of Eastern New Mexico University, it's You Should Know, featuring the people and events of Eastern New Mexico and West Texas.
Welcome to You Should Know. I'm your host, Evelyn Ledbetter, and I have the privilege today of having three of our state legislators here with us, Senators Boone, Woods, and also Representative Reeb. Representative Reeb, thank you for joining me today.
Well, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're about to get into a busy season of life, aren't you?
Yes, 60 straight days. It's always fun. It's challenging.
That's a long time to be away from home and,
yes.
and live in Santa Fe, basically.
It is, but it's worth it. I really enjoy it.
Well, good. So you actually represent District 64.
Correct.
Which is Roosevelt and Curry.
And part of Chavez County.
So a large area. And
yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
So, and your background, you're the former DA
right.
for our area.
So I've been a prosecutor, I still am, for 28 years, and I was at the DA's office locally for 25, and then just retired, and then decided just to turn around and run for representative.
Well, thank you for your service and being willing to do this. It's not a simple job.
Thank you.
So coming up on the session starts January 20th. So, let's just jump in. Tell me about the top priorities for the upcoming legislative session for you.
For me, it's public safety. And as you know, having a background in criminal law, it's one of what you're hearing about on the news all the time, all the crime, especially juvenile offenses. If you've even noticed locally, there's been a lot more juvenile activity, just a lot more crime. I think New Mexico's rated one of the worst states to live in. Albuquerque's one of the most dangerous places to live. And so we've got to get a handle on crime. And so I think for me, that is going to be a priority, getting some good laws passed and in a bipartisan way, hopefully with the other side, and getting getting our thumbs on some of these offenders and getting them behind bars or rehab or mental health treatment, whatever it may be.
Well, and I know last session, you were a junior member. I mean, you were elected in 2023, so last year was your first session, and I know there wasn't a lot of results on the criminal part.
Right.
So hoping to.
Right. There was a special session that the governor called just for the criminal aspect of it, and I was lucky I was able to actually get her to let me carry a fentanyl bill under her crime package. As you're aware, nothing went anywhere, but our party, the Republicans, we were ready to address what we could address, but as you know, we don't control the numbers up there, and so we didn't get very far on anything on that special session.
Well, and being a border state,
yes.
And then I-25 feeding right up through the fentanyl and things, of course, seeing dramatic changes and all of that.
Yeah, we've got a huge fentanyl problem. I don't think people realize how big our human trafficking issue is, all the issues we're having with the open border. There's been a lot of reports on that lately, and hopefully we'll have a lot of legislation to address assisting. I know those are federal crimes, a lot of them, but assisting Border Patrol in hoping to, kind of curtail a lot of what's happening.
Sure. So top priorities, that's basically the criminal aspect, and you were placed on some of the committee assignments haven't happened yet, correct?
Right, except I am on judiciary.
So
that I've been told that will definitely still be my committee. So I'm lucky that every criminal bill comes through judiciary. And so that it's hard because there's only 4 Republicans, we're really outnumbered, but it seems to be the priority of the Democrats too, to get crime addressed, and the governor. So yeah, that's a great committee to be on because I get to listen to it firsthand, and I think a lot of the members rely on me with my background in criminal law, and I can pretty much tell a law that's going to work and one that's not going to work.
Because you've been on the flip side of prosecuting it, so you know exactly what's going to happen.
Right, so I just try to carry my weight, and when we argue on the floor, I try to make sure I stand up and at least let the party know, this is what this is about before they decide on their vote, and give them as much information as I can on what I know about it.
Right, so obviously that's your goals and everything with that, but your thoughts on like the state budget. Where do you think that the areas that, probably a criminal is one, but the areas that really need to have quite a bit of that budget put towards it?
Well, for me, I'm actually more concerned that we're spending too much on certain areas. children, youth, and families. For me, that's a huge thing, child welfare.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we are putting all this money into programs with a 7% completion rate that people aren't even required to actually complete. So we're not seeing any results like in education. We're pumping all this money into education, but we're still ranked so low,
Right.
like what, 50th or something in
Right.
the nation. So I'm more concerned about we're pumping so much money into these organizations and not seeing any results.
And obviously just having the budget, because for so long New
Right.
Mexico didn't have a large budget. We have that influx of cash. But like you
Right.
said, the education level and things, the crime levels,
Right.
we're not seeing those stats raise according to what our money is.
Yeah, we have a ton of money. And it's like, so why aren't we fixing these problems? And the committees I've sat on, I'm just not getting the answers of why we're not seeing the results that we should be seeing when we're putting so much money into these programs. So I guess for me, it'd be more like questioning where all this money is going that we're putting into these different areas.
And
I would be more of, let's not spend until we correct the issue.
Right, just throwing money at something doesn't fix
Doesn't
it.
fix it. No.
You don't buy your way out of
You're
it.
not going to save a child by throwing money at a system that's broken.
Right. And even though you say, well, the major crime areas are the big cities, but that flows into every little town and,
It sure
and
does.
county in the state.
It sure does.
So
yes.
we're not exempt. Or
I mean, all these border towns have a ton of crime, and
They
they're
do.
small. And
Right.
even Clovis and Portales in this area, I've seen a huge increase in homicides. And I think you can just read the paper or listen to the news or look on social media and see that's happening.
Right, big uptake. So, and the challenges that you see on this session?
Well, the challenges are always the same. Being the minority party is so hard because when you have 70 representatives for the House I'm in, and 26 of us now are Republicans, the Democrats can control pretty much what they want to control. And while they may say they want to be tough on crime, most of the time it isn't as tough on crime as what you're thinking. There might be a bill that I got this bill the other day that was a parole bill, and they don't want to look at anymore what the underlying crime was, or if they used a firearm, just whether or how they behaved in the Department of Corrections. And I'm thinking, well, as somebody who is, let's say, a pedophile might do very well in the Department of Corrections, but maybe not so well in the outside world. So, yeah, the hardest part is just getting the numbers to either get a bad bill stopped or talk them into, not calling something up that's bad. But criminal, sometimes it's just they're just not really crime. They're just not really bills that actually solve the crimes. Sometimes yes, but I'm happy to always jump on board. I don't care if it's a governor bill,
Sure.
a Democrat bill. If it's going to help with crime, then I'm all for it.
Well, and it's such, we're kind of, just wanted to get some thoughts and things. I know being on that committee, you're working on Saturdays as well, not just Monday through Friday, and lots of challenges, but just you're the person there, you have that knowledge and that background, and we're very appreciative of the service and
Well, thank you.
everything
I
you
appreciate
do.
that.
So thanks for coming in and talking with us.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Senator Woods, so nice to have you here as a guest today. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Always. So we actually were able to visit a little bit this morning at the legislative coffee and pastry they had at the Yam Theater here in Portales, and just appreciate you popping in and giving us your thoughts today. And you actually you represent Curry County, and it's a large area, so Curry, Clay, and Union, and you've been in the position since 2012.
Yes. Yes, I actually picked up one piece of one more county, Harding County.
It's those district lines, when they move them, your learning curve gets bigger as well.
Well, yeah, the more people you represent, the more, New Mexico's all about culture.
Sure.
And culture can be changed from community to community. So it's always fun to see what's important to people.
Well, we served on the electric co-op boards for years, and that's how we met each other. But what one county needs isn't always the needs of the next county or 100 miles away, and you recognize that in the same way.
It goes as far as to universities. I was talking to Eastern University today. Their culture here in Portales at Eastern is different than Western or Northern
Right.
or UNM, New Mexico State, Mexico Tech. Every one of them's different.
It can change a lot in 100 miles.
A lot.
Well, let's jump in on this. Tell me what your top priorities are for the upcoming session.
One of the main bills I want to carry, and our priority is the electrical infrastructure. as you know, you was in that co-op business.
Right.
How do we get electricity to the demand? And how do we attract the demand to our area in economic development?
Right.
Everything has to do with electricity. New Mexico wants more and more electrification, even to our transportation. And how do we get all of that electricity to us?
Well, and I would think it's tough. Legislation is put in place, but a lot of time it's not funded or thought through. And so it makes for challenges when you're switching to more renewables and
It
that
does.
sort of thing.
We passed the ETA, and when we did that, we changed the fuel to make electricity. And when we changed that fuel, we now have to have transmission lines run in different directions. And with that, that's very expensive, very
Right.
time-consuming, hard to permit. The SunZia line took 17 years to permit.
Well, that
Now,
is,
if you're asking for demand today, like in the oil patch, how do you get electricity down there if they need it today and it's 17 years before they can get it?
those transmission lines just don't magically appear and working through the Southwest Power Pool and everything else. And the conversion to electric vehicles, the charging stations. And we're a big state and cover a lot of empty areas.
We're the fifth largest state.
Mhm.
We've got one of the smallest populations.
Right. Yeah. And in the rural areas, the majority of the population is in the three big cities.
That's right.
So for your goals, on proposed legislation, you said this is your top one. Are there other ones that fall in right behind it?
Well, I don't believe that the state needs to own more land. I would like to make a law that says before the state can buy land, they have to check with the county commission, they have to check with the SACIAs, they have to check with the communities to let them know that they're going to take land off the land base, off the tax rolls,
Right. Right.
because that's who it hurts.
It's the small communities that those towns are bringing in revenue through those tax dollars.
That's right.
Makes
That's
a big
right.
difference. And water is always a concern.
Water,
That's a big part
the
of our
governor, and I'm sorry to
No, no,
interrupt.
no.
The governor has got a big push she wants to spend $200 million on a water initiative to refine either brackish water or produce water. And I haven't exactly got it figured out how she wants to do that, but essentially she wants $200 million to do that. And the problem with that is that if we have fresh water, yeah, we may not want to use fresh water for all industry, but everything's economy. They're going to go to the cheapest water they can find. If we're going to have to refine brackish water, then we're going to have to sell it at freshwater
Sure.
prices that they could buy in the neighborhood. And that probably means we're going to be in the middle, much like we are with the spaceport that we keep subsidizing, the rail runner we keep subsidizing, and even though they're worthy causes, how long can New Mexico subsidize those industries forever?
Well, that legislation where we do have money this year, but if it's not funded long term for education and everything else, that's difficult. So,
It's hard if we can't guarantee revenues coming in the future.
yeah.
And right now, oil and gas produces 50% of our revenues. We don't know how long, but we know one day there'll be an oil and gas bust.
Sure, it's coming. They always do.
It always happens. It's a cyclical deal.
It's not a matter if, it's a matter when.
That's right.
Right. And your thoughts on the proposed budget? We've kind of tapped into that, but most of the funding, education, healthcare, economic development. Where do you see the big push on this budget for the session?
The preliminary budget puts about a 5% increase in education, maybe just a hair more in economic development. Our budget is not designed to grow economy. 30% of our total employees in the state works for the state, if you include the school teachers.
And I'm one of them here at the university.
At the university. And you can't fund that much of the population, of the work population, by state government and grow the economy.
Sure.
How do you get private individuals to come to the state of New Mexico, or our citizens to develop their interest in business? That is a challenging deal, and actually less regulation would be the secret to that.
You kind of go back to the old Ronald Reagan days that more government isn't always the best.
That's true. That's true.
And Pat, I know it's always a challenge to, with our state and much more heavily, we're pretty conservative on the eastern side of the state, but others trying to reach across that aisle, I know that has to be a big challenge as well.
You know, reaching across the aisle is just a personal experience. The people, you have to develop a friendship across any aisle. I don't have all that in common. I'm a farmer and a rancher. There's only less than 2% of us are farmers and ranchers.
Not many of us left.
So if I want to say I have something in common with you, there's not many in the legislature that I can have something in common with. So I have to go to other areas, and there's plenty of areas to meet people and find common ground.
Sure. Well, Senator, such a pleasure. We appreciate you coming in today. I know your time is really limited, and wish you the best in the coming long session of 60 days, and just appreciate everything you do for us.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
For sure. Senator Boone, so nice to have you. Thank you for coming by and talking with us today.
You're welcome, Evelyn. It's always a pleasure to come and visit with you, and I just appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk about this new adventure that I'm fixing to set out on.
Well, District 27 Senator, newly elected, sworn in first of the year, and so basically you're a junior senator.
Right. I'm still, I suppose, senator-elect until I'm sworn in Santa Fe on the 21st. There's been I haven't had any swearing in yet. I've got a couple of little signs, little name tags that say the New Mexico State Senator, but I've refrained from wearing them until I'm actually sworn in. So, but I am looking forward to it. It's quite a challenge to me. My dad was the wisest man I ever knew, and one of the things he told me more than anything, son, a day you don't learn something is a wasted day. And I'm really, people ask me all the time, are you excited about doing this? And I say, well, depends on what you want to define as exciting, because I am excited about the fact that I'm going to be going up there and learning a whole new realm of things to be able to accomplish my mission in life.
And you've shared this mission wasn't something that was completely from your heart when you started on it.
No, it truly wasn't. I'd been a public servant for my community for 45 years, and at the age of 70, I thought, I'm done. You know, it's time for me to kick back and enjoy things. But God put this thing in my heart. You need to serve. I've got one more thing for you to do, and I kept trying to push it away, and I literally had this burning in my belly that wouldn't go away until I said, "Okay, Lord, I'll do. You lead me to it, but you're going to have to lead me through it.
You're going to have to hold my hand."
but that's where we are, and I'm going up there to serve Him, and of course I'm going to serve my constituents and the voters that put me in there, but primarily I'm going up there to serve Him and fulfill the inspiration He's put on my life. So.
Well, and we all benefit from that if we listen to it.
Well.
So tell me, Senator, going up, what are your top priorities going into this session? And it's a long session, 60 days. So this is quite this is a long learning curve.
It is. It really is. And to be totally honest, my top priority is to go up there and learn. I just mentioned learning, and I do have some concerns that I ran on, that I campaigned on, and they're all the same ones that everybody talks about: education and crime and of course I'm greatly concerned about my vocation, about agriculture,
Sure.
but I also realize that the primary thing that we need to make that better is rain. It's got to start back raining, and we can't do anything about that or much about it. So my primary thing is just going to go up there and learn how to try to be the best legislator I can be, and to follow the examples of that have been set before me. My goodness, I've got, and there's no way I can ever fill
Wow.
Stuart's shoes, but the work, the body of work that he put forth in 39 years up there is incomparable. And to just go up there and continue with hopefully the same integrity and the same honesty and desire to serve that he did is my goal.
Well, I've had several people, and we've served on some boards and things together, and people said, well, I don't, you're pretty somewhat unknown, or some people think you are, but I mean, you served on the school board at Elida for many, many years. So education, you're well aware of, and the same on the electric board.
Right.
So the energy and the education, you have an insight into that people may not realize.
Well, I'm so fortunate because District 27 involves my home county, Roosevelt, and then part of Curry, part of Lee,
Yeah.
part of Chavis, and then all of DeBaca County. Well, that just also happens to be my home 20,
That's true.
where I raised my family, where we've spent our married life together, Cindy and I have, and we I'm just familiar with these people. I don't know what the percentage is of the people that I know, but I bet the rural people, I bet I know 85% of them through either cattle growers or Farm Bureau or some agriculture.
That's true. New
the
Mexico
co-op.
Stockman's. I didn't
Right.
even mention that.
Right. And so through all those things, I'm acquainted with these people,
Right.
and I've gained a level of trust with them, and they with me, and so we will work together. And
Sure.
I'm just so blessed to be able to be where I am and doing this job.
Do you have a thought of where you would like to be assigned as far as committees?
Well, I'm greatly concerned about our education, and I know it needs work, and so I did express an interest in that. I also expressed an interest in the Conservation Committee because naturally because of my agriculture
Sure.
ties, and then past there, it's just wherever they feel like they might need me. But those two are the ones that I specifically requested as 1 and 2 on my list.
Well, and obviously, even though we have a large budget and a nice bank account, throwing money at something doesn't always fix it.
No, it
So,
doesn't. It doesn't. And we've got to realize that eventually the supply of oil and gas, it's a finite resource. So we've got to realize that we need to be very prudent in what we do with those funds, and we need to be putting some back for a rainy day, and we don't need to spend it just because we have it. And I think the push for example, the huge push towards this renewable energy, I think it's worrisome to me.
you have to have a blend because you still have to
We
have the
do.
backup power to run that
do.
whole grid.
We truly do, and that's been a really great concern of mine because I just know that there's still not a reliable storage
Right.
technology available for renewable energy, and the wind doesn't blow 24 hours a
No.
day, and the sun doesn't
Right.
shine 24 hours
Right.
a day. So I think there's maybe been too big of a rush to divest ourselves of the dependable
Right.
generation sources we've had, and I think we need to back up and look at that. And of course, the electric vehicle mandates are worrisome to me. I really feel like we need to be a little bit more common sense in what we're doing. I think we need to look at some of these things.
Well, the restrictions that can be put on oil and gas industry, you need to recognize that that's the biggest percentage of our revenue for the state.
Sure.
So what you do on one side affects the other side as
Exactly.
well.
Exactly.
So that common sense is
Right.
a real big,
Right.
big part of that.
And there's always needs, there's environmental needs, there's things that we need to pay attention to for the safety and the health of our people. So we've got to pay attention to that. But at the same time, there's very good technology. For example, the coal burning technology. They've got those emission things down to where they're practically nothing, and we have such a huge resource in the amount of coal that we have available. I think we've moved away from it too quickly, and I think we need to look back at it.
Well, can always learn from the past on different
Oh yeah,
things. So.
oh yeah, for sure.
Well, since you're not a senator elect,
Yes,
and I've known you for so long, I have to catch myself of referring to you as a senator versus first name. But
sure.
I'm excited about you being in Santa Fe and on our behalf, and just in advance, thank you for your willingness to serve and representing our part of the state. And I know you'll have a heart for the others in the rest of the state as well.
Well, thank you, Evelyn. I appreciate that very much. Whenever I finally decided to do this, Cindy said, "Well, I think I really kind of thought you were through too, but this is what you do." So
Y'all are a good team.
yeah, we are.
Well, thank you again for being
You're
here.
welcome. You're welcome.
And to all of you watching today, we appreciate it, and we will see you next time. Cheers.